Coming to you from a studio somewhere out there. It's Enough Already Radio with Fingers Malloy and Tracy O'Connor.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Here we are once again. It's another Enough Already podcast. My name is Fingers Malloy. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Checking us out over at the iTunes or the BitChute. Tracy O'Connor's. The BitChute.
Big fans.
So we have so much to talk about this week, and we can get into the news in a little bit, but you are a world traveler, Tracy. You're all over the globe, and by all over the globe, I mean you're traveling around the United States and Canada.
Yes, that's more accurate.
For me, that's around the globe. I have no interest in going overseas at all, and
okay.
And I have little interest in going to Canada.
Oh.
But you went to a cool part of Canada.
Apparently.
Oh, it wasn't cool?
Well, it was cold.
But I mean, I meant cool as in not temperature-wise, but oh, hey, it's cool. I'm in Montreal.
Yeah, it was a pretty city. I'll give it that.
It appeared, and I saw some of your pictures over on Instagram. The architecture is beautiful.
It is. It really is. And it's an old city for Canada standards.
How was the food? Did you have the culinary experience that you had in Chicago up in Montreal?
I did. We started off with Mexican food.
Okay. Can you get good Mexican food in Canada?
It was fairly good. I don't know what they gave us that they called chips, but they definitely weren't chips. It was almost just like stale pita bread kind of deal. It was very strange, but the guacamole was really good. And then, I mean, how do you go wrong with fish tacos, really?
What kind of fish?
I don't know. Cod, I think.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's like put a Mrs. T's frozen fish stick in a...
They pull it right out of the St. Lawrence and serve it on your plate? Is that what they did?
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so you had Mexican in Canada. Not what I expected, but okay.
No, but I get there Saturday. I'm there for a conference that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Mm-hmm. But I went up Saturday just so I could have the day Sunday to kind of roam around and explore. And so I would get there and I'm checking Yelp, and it's a Saturday night in a big city. Like, where can you go, really, for dinner that's not already booked up? So that's just how we ended up at the Mexican restaurant. I will say I appreciate the exchange rate. It's pretty stellar.
Oh?
Oh, yeah.
I know at one point you could get $1.50 Canadian for every American dollar. Was it around that?
I don't know. I was just looking at my credit card versus the receipts. Yeah, $1.31 Canadian to $1.
Not bad.
No, it's pretty nice. So you see your credit card charge and then it goes down.
Well, did you buy anything significant up there?
No.
No? Nothing to claim?
No, none of that.
See, because I thought maybe you'd go, I don't know what kind of shopping they have in Montreal, but, you know, the few times that you and I have been at conferences, I've noticed that it could be a 3-day conference and you'd have 6 suitcases. So I would say a little bit of a fashionista.
Yeah, but my stuff gets delivered to me for the most part.
Oh, okay. So I thought maybe you would be going around Sunday shopping for clothes and then bringing them back to the United States.
No.
But no, none of that, huh?
No, and I was going to go shopping for pot on Sunday.
Were the pot stores closed on Sunday?
No, here's the deal. So there's only 4 pot stores in the entire city of Montreal. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I can Google the population, but it is a city, so it's sizable.
It's got to have over 1 million people in it, doesn't it?
I would, with the outlying area, 1.7 million. There you go.
Wow, there you go. That's significant.
Yeah, it's pretty big. So we had asked the bartender at the Mexican restaurant where we could possibly find one of these 4 dispensaries. So she told us roundaboutly, there's a main street. It's got all the shops and everything. She's like, up there and then a couple blocks down. So we walked by this place, I think 3 times before we actually noticed it. Because it's so unassuming, and also the hours are 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh.
Which I would imagine is some law thing.
Either that or it's probably, are they government run? Are these government employees
No.
Selling joints to the town folk? No? That sounds like government store hours.
Right. Well, hey, I give them credit for getting this turned around so fast. Every single state in the U.S. that's gone legal, it's been at least a year
Yeah.
to get all this stupid compliance stuff up and running and figure out how they're going to do it. And I think Oregon ended up taking almost 2 years before anybody could legally sell anything. So this was a couple months. So I thought, oh, okay, well, Sunday should be less crazy. It should be open and I should be able to go and check it out. So I walked by there Sunday afternoon, and it just happened that it was 2 blocks away from my hotel. So I kept passing it. There's a line that goes, it's in the center of a block, like a good size, 10th of a mile city block. And there's a line that goes all the way from the front door to the intersection.
Oh, jeez.
So I went to lunch. And then I come back from lunch and checked the same length. Walked by there again later on that day. Same thing. It's just constant. And I was like, I don't have I'm not going to stand out here in the cold for this. Like, this is just absurd. And I know I told everybody I'd report back, but call me a liar. And so Monday.
But you tried.
Yeah. Well, the story doesn't end there per se. So then Monday, stuff didn't begin until noon. So I had been checking around on the internet, like what's there to see. And it was recommended to check out they have this giant botanical garden in this tundra that's right next to where they had the Olympics. So you get to see the whole old Olympic complex and then this just enormous garden that was unbelievably cool.
My God, when was the Montreal Olympics?
I think they were
70s?
before I was born.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, oh, which ones were those? And it was a Summer Olympics. I don't know. This is what I was told by somebody older than me. So I just believed them. But yeah, I would recommend anybody that goes there to go check that place out. It was unbelievable. And then came back to the conference and let me think. That night, that was steakhouses 2 nights in a row, Sunday, Monday. And then
And the quality
Tuesday.
of the meal at the steakhouse.
Oh, excellent. Unbelievably good. The Monday night we went to a place in Old Town called Gibby's, the old part of Montreal. So the building we were in was probably 1800s, I want to say, which coming from Philadelphia, you're like, nah. We got way older stuff than this, but
Right.
It was beautiful. And that meal was unbelievably good. And then on Tuesday afternoon, one of the gentlemen that I know that he's one of our suppliers. He's an Italian guy, so he still smokes. And a ton of people smoke cigarettes in Montreal. That was shocking to me too.
Where can they smoke them though? I mean,
Almost
'cause
every there's
Canada,
smoking sections all over the place.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Not internally, but externally. And most of the restaurants, they had pulled in their stuff from outside, but most of them have an outside section that appears to be open during the summer.
Oh, I figured Canada would be even worse than the United States when it comes to that crap.
But you're talking about the Frenchies.
Yes.
So our hotel was on the top floor of this building. The hotel, it was like a split level kind of weird thing that I've never seen before. So the only floors of rooms were the top 2 floors of this building. And they actually had this heated outdoor pool that's open year round.
Okay.
Even in the freezing. Yeah.
Yeah, they have one of those up at, there's a resort in Michigan, Traverse City, and they have the same thing. It's awesome in the winter.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. I did not go in, but they had a smoking porch up there. And I had read that you're allowed to, smoke pot anywhere you could smoke cigarettes.
Really? I mean, because that's different too.
Yes. So I ran into another gentleman that I know, and he was out on the smoking porch because I went with my Italian friend to go stand outside and puff my e-cig while he smoked his cigarette. And then out comes this other gentleman that we know. And he's like, hey, I went to the pot shop this morning and stood in line. Am I allowed to do that out here? And I was like, yes, you are. I believe so.
Only if you share.
Well, that was later on. This was at 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, I can't do this now, but I'll find you after dinner. And I did. And it was quite good.
Do you know what do they call it? Strain? I mean, it's not a disease.
He got 3 different strains.
Oh, it's okay. It's strains. Okay, fair enough.
So I'm not sure which one I ended up having because he only showed me one in the afternoon. And then that evening he had taken them, just rolled them all up because he's like, I got to finish all this before I leave, which was 12 hours later. But he said the line was 45 minutes long. Nobody ID'd him or anything. It wasn't this like whole regime because, he'd obviously been to places in the United States where you do it. And,
right.
And I heard stories about Colorado. It was like crazy lockdown stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. In Oregon, the place that I went in was just a house that had been converted into a store. And I just walked in the front door and they're like, hey, how you doing? It wasn't this big hold, like, give us your ID, get your fingerprints. You have to stay in this room until we call you. You can only have one person in the shop at a time.
Oh, I haven't heard that. In Colorado, I was just in Colorado a month ago, and they have security in a room outside of the shop. You give them your ID, they check it out, then they let you go in. But there were many people in the store. And the one thing that I found out about this place, and apparently this isn't common with a lot of the stores in Colorado, is they took a debit card, and then when it would come up as a transaction, it would just say like, "Oh, Federal Bank," something, make it look like it was an ATM transaction.
Well, there was one small local bank chain in Colorado that decided they would take pot money.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
And just do all the compliance. So that could be what it was, and that's just the name of the bank.
Yeah, but they don't have anything like they don't have a man frisking you as you're going into the place in Montreal.
No, but they have to. Everything has to be away from the windows, so no children could possibly look in and see what pot looks like.
Okay.
So all I could see behind the window when it's closed is just like a little vestibule with computers that I guess you go in and enter your information, and then you get to go behind the curtain.
Ooh, behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Sounds so dirty.
I know, but I can't even imagine how much pot they sold.
Now, at the dispensaries in Colorado, that's the only experience I have going to a dispensary. They had everything there. It was ridiculous. Edibles and oils and just stuff that I never would think about buying. Was it like that in Montreal?
No, they don't have edibles.
Okay.
And I think he said they have pre-rolled joints and they have the, regular flour and then the liquids.
Ah, okay.
But for some reason, and I had read that edibles aren't legal yet or something. I don't know if they haven't figured out that whole regime of how to test those because that can be tricky.
Yeah, you don't want Maureen Dowd going up there and eating a whole brownie. Right. Coming dazed and confused.
But it was pretty amazing because I was standing out in the smoking section with the other people that were smoking and a lot of them were quite older than I, and they were all very intrigued by this. And then I got to hear all these stories about how they've tried to get it in different places in the States and what a hassle. And the guy's like, do they have gummies over there? It's like, this is how I found out that no, they don't have edibles yet. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. Some 60-year-old. I like them gummy bears with the THC.
I don't understand the pre-rolled joints.
Well, if you don't know how to roll one.
Yeah, but
I never learned how to do that. It seemed like work.
It's not the easiest thing in the world, so I hear. But to me, it's just not convenient. As far as the usability of it, if you're by yourself, you're not going to light a whole joint.
Oh, it depends on who you are.
I guess. I mean, if you're Snoop Dogg, it's no big deal. But if you're just someone that dabbles in it or doesn't smoke all that much and you find yourself in Montreal and you're alone or you're the only one smoking it, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to try to put it out? It just seems like a big waste.
I don't know, but what do you do if you're traveling? You have to buy something then? So you have to buy a pot and a pipe? I mean, I think that's why the vape sticks make the most sense.
Yeah, they really do. Well, that's interesting. It'll, in Michigan, they've got the ballot initiative. They're going to be voting on it here in November. And the last poll I saw, and granted, this was a little while ago, it was up something like 8 points. It looked like it was going to pass, but the anti-pot people, they're really throwing a lot of money into it, and there was a commercial recently that they were running where someone got into a car accident and a kid died, and there was THC in the person's bloodstream, and so they were like, "This is what's going to happen to your child if pot is legal in the in Michigan." So I haven't seen a poll recently on the likelihood of this passing or not, but I have a feeling it's going to pass.
Well, and now, I mean, Michigan borders Canada.
Yeah.
So I know that the patrol is out hardcore, and we were asked specifically about it when we went through immigration on the way in, which was weird. Are you bringing any pot? Why would I bring it? You guys have it. I don't understand. But we weren't scrutinized when we left.
And where did you fly in from?
Philadelphia.
I mean, it's not like you're coming from a state where it's legal.
Right. And it was a direct flight.
Yeah,
it wasn't a connection. Yeah.
If it's Colorado, I understand. But if you're flying from Pennsylvania, are you bringing pot with you? Well,
but I don't know if there's people coming from all over the world and bringing it there now. That doesn't make any sense.
No, why would you?
Oh, it's like showing up to an open bar party with your own bottle.
No, you're right, though. They make it a little bit more of a pain in the ass to get into Canada now than it ever used to be. I mean, you have to have a passport or an enhanced... I don't know if Pennsylvania offers this, but you can get enhanced driver's licenses in certain states. In Michigan, you can, and you pay a little bit more, and they've got the little chip that they can read. And but, back before 9/11, you could just go pretty much with your driver's license.
Well, and this is a more recent than that thing with Canada and Mexico. I think that happened within the last 5 years that they required that you had a passport.
Yeah, but it was tougher to get. You had to have your birth certificate after 9/11 or a passport, and now I believe it's just passport, or they've got the passport cards.
Yeah, I have the global entry card.
So that's nice to not have to.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool.
Over.
They just have this bank of computers that you walk up to. One person per station. Mm-hmm. You put your passport face down on this little thing. It scans it, and then it asks you a couple questions. It takes a picture of you, and then it prints out a little document. You walk over to the bureaucrat at the thing, the little security person, and you always think of Canadians as so polite, and I don't know if this is just because I was in the French-speaking province. Mm-hmm. But it was like, what are you here for?
Oh, they're dicks.
Yeah, and this is a lady, and I was like, a conference? What kind? So I tell her. Okay. Thanks. And they didn't tell us at the time, and thank God I didn't throw it away. So you have this little printout of a really crappy version, like black and white photo of yourself.
Yeah.
That kind of looks like the printer ink's running out.
Yeah. Well.
And then you walk another half mile to go get your bag, and then you walk out from the baggage area, and there's another checkpoint there, and you're supposed to hand them that paper.
Oh, okay.
I was like, well, nobody told me to hang on to this thing. Thank God I did. Because normally I would have just been like, why am I carrying this? Just throw it away.
Right.
But I made it out.
My experience going over the border from Michigan into Ontario, I mean, just complete dicks. There was one time, and this was back in the 90s. I was going to go skiing with some friends, and they stop you at the border. Why are you coming in here? Well, we're going to go skiing. We've got skis on the roof of our car. And so you Americans have any guns in your car? Well, no. Weren't anticipating a gun battle at Searchmont in Ontario, Canada, with you Canucks. Oh, okay. Any of you ever been convicted of drunk driving? And of course, one of the guys pipes up and says, "Well, yeah, I actually have been." And they said, "Okay, well, that's a felony in Canada. You have to pay $500 to enter the country, and it's non-refundable."
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, $500. I believe it was $500. It was either $250 or $500, and we're like, "Well, we're not paying that."
Okay.
I guess we're turning around and leaving. And so he's like, "Okay, well," and we had reservations. We had to call, the resort, and you know how it is. You can't cancel reservations the day of without having to pay, and we're like, hey, listen, your crappy customs wouldn't let us over the border because our buddy had been drinking and driving at one point in his life several years ago, and and they're like, okay, don't worry about it. So we stopped at the duty-free store on the way back and got 2 cases of beer and two fifths of Absolute. And the American customs were like, hey, you just left the country like 15 minutes ago.
You're like, yeah, well, they won't let us in because one of our friends had a drinking and driving problem. So we're just going to stock up on booze on the way home.
And and the Americans were like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And let us in. So there's that.
Imagine that.
So yeah, they're dicks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just it's not just the French Canadians.
Although they were exceptionally rude, I thought. But I'm also looking for it.
So, but a good time was had by all.
It was. And I have to tell you, I ran a little experiment while I was there because the only American news I could get, and I don't typically watch all that much news to begin with, but it was CNN. So I watched CNN Sunday morning. That was brutal. And then I was in and out of my room throughout the day at the conference because it's in the same place as the hotel. So I think it was Tuesday. I started early morning watching, like when I got up at 7:30. And it's all about the mob caravan.
Okay.
And they have a reporter live there with the caravan in some city. I can't remember the name of it. I know I think it started with an H. It was like HX or something like this. So here's the reporter in this town square that they've taken over at 7:00 in the morning reporting live. And, it's all the horror stuff that you would think, little sob stories, whatever. And this town square looks like an Occupy residence.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. It's like the tent city, and then it's just trash everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, my God. It was awful. And I'm like, who's giving these people all these water bottles that they're just throwing on the ground? But regardless. So I go away and come back a couple hours later, like late afternoon. Same reporter. Same city. People are still laying about. I'm like, I thought these guys were on the move. This doesn't make any sense to me. They're like, oh, they've got 1,000 miles to go to get to the southern part, the southern tip of Texas. They're crossing there. Mm-hmm. That's probably where they're going, but we can't be sure. So this is a good 8 hours later. I'm like, that's weird. They haven't moved. When the next morning, same reporter, same city, there's still a whole bunch of people laying around there. Like, what the hell is going on? I can't be the only person that's noticed this. Shouldn't we be traveling?
You'd think.
Yeah. And then he would go ask people questions like, have you seen what Trump is tweeting about you guys? Like, what? Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure they're just glued to Twitter because they're not walking anywhere, apparently. I just couldn't get over it. And the other theme through that day was they were trying so hard to make nationalism a bad word.
Uh-huh.
Like it's a dog whistle.
They love the dog whistles.
Oh, they do. They do. They hear them all the time. And this started, this was intercutting with the mob caravan. And by the end of the late afternoon, they had convened a panel to discuss this.
Okay.
Yes. Can you imagine being the expert that gets called in to discuss whether or not nationalism is a code word for white nationalism? Because they had Trump had done a press availability that afternoon, and Jim Acosta, the brave one, had said, people think that white nationalism is actually like code for, or excuse me, the word nationalism is actually code for like white nationalists. Is that what you're really saying? And Trump's like, I've never heard that before. Who says this stuff?
Oh, people say it all the time.
People are saying it. Everybody's saying it. It's like, yeah, your channel is saying it all day long. So then you guys can credibly say, well, people are saying it. And so he pushed back on him and was just like, this is ridiculous. And then cut to a whole panel to talk about whether or not it's ridiculous. And I wish I could remember this guy's name. And he kept having to say, look, I don't like Trump and I think he's a racist.
Ugh.
But I think you guys are going too far with this. I don't think I think most people hear that word and they understand what it means, is that you really love your country and you want your country to be first. And that's kind of been his position this whole time. So that's how people are hearing this. And he said he had been at, at the rally and people weren't like, yeah, like, I know what that means. Like, come on.
Wink, wink.
Right. Oh, this is awesome. He totally gets us. And this is such a clever way to slip it right past the left because they'll never catch on.
It's like that they believe that these Trump rallies and the Trump supporters, it's like a secret society like the Freemasons. And except there are cameras everywhere and they allow the media in, but we all have I shouldn't say we because I don't know if I would call myself a Trumpist or a Trumper or whatever they like to call Trump supporters. I just don't find the man Hitler Jr. like these other people do, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the show so far. I'm really glad I voted for not Hillary in the last election. So, and this has all been a pleasant surprise for me. But they act like it's some secret society with secret languages, and yet it's still all out in the open. But all these people know the language.
Oh, and it was Jeffrey Toobin. So this is the clip that I sent you.
Uh-huh.
This is part of this panel. So it's Wolf Blitzer plus 4 more people to discuss this for an entire segment.
From the Situation Room. This clip is about 1:13. Tell me when you want me to stop along the way if you want me to stop.
So this is Jeffrey Toobin. I'm just going to read this because I was so happy they picked this up. This was from Newsbusters, caught it. Mm-hmm. So their little write-up of it is on Tuesday's Situation Room. Liberal CNN analyst Jeffrey Toobin and correspondent Caitlin Collins got into a surprising debate over whether it was appropriate for President Trump to call himself a nationalist, as Collins claims that the word nationalism has become like Hitler, while Toobin seemed out of character as he defended the president.
Just like Hitler.
Right, exactly like him.
Worst Hitler ever, by the way.
You think?
You think Caitlin Collins would be able to walk around the streets of Washington, D.C. if Hitler Jr. in the White House were just like Hitler? I'm asking for a friend.
Well, and people forget, like, you can pull broadcast licenses. That's all granted by the federal government. Notice how none of that's happened.
Worst Hitler ever.
He really is.
Okay, this is Caitlin
Toobin
Collins and Jeffrey Toobin.
And just change the word nationalist like this. I just don't think that is how this works, and I think we're letting the president do that. I mean, Jeffrey, if you said that you would say you were a nationalist, then if that's what the definition of the word that you're using, would you say you're one? Probably not.
I would. I mean,
you think you're a nationalist?
I'm someone who believes in the United States and the importance of the United States.
I believe in the United States. I'm not a nationalist. Hitler was a nationalist.
Oh, please, come on. I mean, that term has not become like Hitler. I just don't think.
That is why people do not use the word nationalist, because it has a negative connotation. It is not the nationalist of Teddy Roosevelt in the 1920s.
There are so many legitimate grounds to criticize Donald Trump for his racism, for his ignorance, for his lying. I just think this one is one where he has a legitimate argument that nationalism is not a bigoted term.
All right, Republicans we got to take another break, but I will say the president himself said we're not supposed to use that word. And so he himself is acknowledging there's a little controversy.
That's part of the dog whistle. That's the beginning
word.
Of the dog
Everybody stand by.
Wow. The funny thing about this is, she brought up Teddy Roosevelt.
She said Teddy Roosevelt in the 1940s.
Did she say the Oh, okay. I got to go back. I thought she said the 1920s. And even then.
States. I'm not a nationalist.
No, that's.
Hold on. Let's go back here. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt ran for president again. Correct.
Yes, but in the teens.
In the teens. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back.
Someone who believes in the United States and the importance of the United States.
I believe in the United States. I'm not a nationalist. Hitler was a nationalist.
Oh, please, come on. I mean, that term has not become like Hitler. I just don't think.
That is why people do not use the word nationalist, because it has a negative connotation. It is not the nationalist of Teddy Roosevelt in the 1920s.
There are so many
I can't tell.
Well, either way, if she's saying 20s or 40s, she's wrong. Teddy Roosevelt died in 1919.
Okay.
So I think she's probably talking about Franklin Roosevelt.
Yeah, FDR.
Good old FDR. Okay. So he was allowed to use it because he was fighting against Hitler. Okay.
But what's funny about this, what I find comical about this, and I've witnessed this firsthand. I've got a lot of friends who are union workers, okay? And the policies that Donald Trump is implementing are the kind of things that unions have been screaming about for decades that they wanted to have implemented. Between renegotiating NAFTA, fighting what they believe are unfair global trade deals, putting on tariffs on foreign goods when they see that, okay, our American goods go to a foreign country, they put a ridiculous tariff on them, but their goods come in practically tariff-free. All these policies, these union people and Democrats, not the really wild, ridiculous lefty college Democrats, but what used to be the part of the Democratic Party for a long time was this blue collar union worker, and of course unions have gone, union membership has gone down, remarkably. The level has gone down in the last few decades, but. The point was this was a huge part of the Democrats' platform just 20, 30 years ago, and now they've got a president that's implementing this platform, and now these same union people are against it because their team isn't doing it.
Right. You think they would be for? I mean, is it just the heads of the union who are against it, though? And
the rank and file guys? Too, because so much of this is tribalism. It's their tribe isn't doing it, the other tribe's doing it, so it must be evil. Now, if our tribe were doing it, and our tribe's been screaming about it for decades, that'd be great. But their tribe is leading the charge on this, so it has to be wrong, and now it's bad. So I'm seeing all these people who are borderline socialists, they're union members, and have been screaming for stuff like this for years. They're now free market capitalists because Donald Trump is the one that's pushing all of these trade policies. It's simply amazing to see how tribalism has really taken over versus. Just common sense and looking back and watching candidates and seeing what their platforms are and trying to evaluate whether they jive with what you believe in. Nope, it's all tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
So it's simply amazing to watch. And these liberal talking heads, it's no different, But so much of at least the trade policy talk that I bring up, and I know I've kind of taken us off topic a little bit. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Donald Trump won. The media elites don't understand any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't a thing that they understand. They don't understand these rallies. They don't understand 25,000 people showing up in Iowa or Kansas to see the president talk. It has to be he's talking some sort of weird language that we don't understand.
Well, that was the beginning of the dog whistle, the part where he says, we're not supposed to say this.
Right.
Let me tell you guys a secret. I mean, on how many different cameras live streaming all around the world?
Yeah.
It's just going to sneak one past you guys. But so I had seen this panel, and then I went to dinner. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the smoking porch after dinner. And I returned to my room in quite a good mood, and CNN was still playing. And it's Don Lemon's time. So he's talking about this too, and I wish I could remember what sentence came out of his mouth, but I almost fell off of my chair because I was laughing so hard. He was being so serious about this nationalism and what this means and all this, and so I started, thinking about watching their behavior all day long and what they, their obvious motivation is to turn out Democrat vote,
right,
and destroy Trump. And I'm like, what are they going to right now? It's all about Trump's a liar. Their chyron for the other half of the day was Trump spreads lies and fear in lead up to the election. So I'm like, okay, so he's a racist and a liar. We've been hearing this song since 2015. So I started wondering, have any of these people left the CNN building? Do we know that they go home at night and have lives? And then I wake up the next morning and I have CNN on again. And this is the morning, Wednesday morning, when all these pipe bombs started showing up all over the place. And one of them showed up at CNN. So they have two of the CNN reporters had to go outside because their whole building got evacuated.
Right.
And I had just, I'd gone to bed thinking like these people haven't been outside in 2.5 years. And then I wake up to find two of them huddled on the sidewalk doing a video, like a Skype thing from their phone. And they looked terrified. And I mean, yes, there was a, supposed bomb in the building. Whether or not any of those bombs were functional is yet to be determined. But they were legitimately scared and standing outside. And I couldn't help but wonder, are they more scared of the bomb or the fact that they're actually going to have to be around normal people now?
Well, normal people in Manhattan. Those
right.
They're people. Or
but
was
there's
this
also
in DC?
tourists there. No, their
true.
Manhattan offices got
Okay.
evacuated.
Okay. Wow. No, it's simply amazing to watch, and to me, they keep calling him a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Was never considered a racist until he announced that he was running for president as a Republican, and they've mischaracterized his campaign launch speech and made it into something it really wasn't. But even if he had slipped up and he fumbled his point, you would think since then, I'm trying to see where the racism is. Okay.
Oh, it's everywhere. You don't see it.
I guess I'm blind to it. Okay, he's enforcing immigration law.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's racist now?
That's a big one. He attacked Maxine Waters. Mm-hmm. Didn't you hear?
Okay.
He's attacked Elizabeth Warren.
Uh-huh.
Who's 1024th Indian, potentially.
But he would attack black people and women before he ran for president.
No, that's irrelevant.
Oh, okay. My fault.
And the fact that he attacks everybody.
Right.
That attacks him.
I thought that's the world we wanted to be in, where everyone's treated the same.
That's what I was always taught.
Oh, I don't care if you're a woman. I'm going to attack you like I would a man. I thought that's what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's what we were striving for. I don't care that you're black. I'm going to attack you like you're white.
Yeah.
I don't care. I thought that's what we wanted. I guess not. I don't know. I keep waiting for the camps.
I know. We were promised the camps.
I don't see them. I'm going to be very interested to see how this investigation is conducted, and I hope that we find out soon who sent these packages and what their motivation was. I'm not going to jump into any kind of wild conspiracy theories.
No, I mean I could easily see this as a 4chan prank or a 4chan prank.
It could be a number of things. It could be totally just a lunatic, and it could be a rabid right winger. It could be a left winger. Number of things it could be. It could be a prank, like you said.
Yeah. From what I've read, it's like none of these things were even capable of exploding.
Right. I did see Donald Trump Jr. tweet, "Hey, someone sent someone sent white powder to my house, and it sent my wife to the hospital, and there was 2 hours worth of coverage for it."
Yeah.
And you guys didn't seem too outraged.
Right. No, this is huge news.
Yeah.
It's wall to wall. This. I mean, they've even stopped covering the migrant caravan.
I mean, how much coverage did the Ted Cruz thing get, where the white powder was sent to Ted Cruz and the white powder was sent to the Pentagon?
I don't know that it got any on any of the major networks.
They're so completely out of touch and delusional. This is how little respect they have for the intelligence of the American people. Most fair-minded people watch this and think to themselves, why? Look, nobody thinks that this shouldn't be news. Of course it's news, and of course it's terrible. You shouldn't be sending packages to all these news organizations and political leaders. If they are bombs, if they aren't bombs, they are made to be look like bombs. You shouldn't be doing that. Obviously, everybody should condemn that behavior. But any fair-minded person can look at the coverage and say to themselves, wow, when Democrats are attacked like this, it's wall-to-wall coverage. A Republican gets attacked, it's next to no coverage.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did want to throw out a crazy theory that I had.
Okay.
Just because it amuses me.
Mm-hmm.
that, the return address from these was Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Yeah.
So I thought, with the exception of De Niro and possibly Maxine Waters, I'm not sure, but everybody else that got one of these packages somehow kept Bernie Sanders from winning the Democrat nomination, including CNN.
That's an interesting theory.
I mean, I'm sure it doesn't hold up, but it's funny to me. I'm like, why have the return address be Debbie Wasserman Schultz? And what was she? She was the head of the DNC.
Right.
And then CNN with Donna Brazile leaking the questions to Hillary.
Well, the other thing, too, I mean, CNN has done what it can to try to pin Donald Trump.
Of course.
And why weren't any of the Never Trumpers targeted?
I don't know.
If this were someone who was a diehard Trump supporter, you would think that some of the enemies in the Republican Party, some of Donald Trump's enemies, would have been targeted, and they weren't. So it's going to be, look, again, I'm just sitting back. I know this is not standard operating procedure in 2018, but it's just kind of nice to sit back and put your feet up and let the investigation unfold and then find out later and wait for the facts.
Right. And I would guess we'll learn more about whoever did this than we ever will know about the shooter in Las Vegas.
Right. And this will be a much larger story, and we're going to be hearing about this for weeks. I still don't know the name of the gentleman, and I shouldn't call him a gentleman, the dirtbag that shot up the Republican softball field. That should be a household name.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know his name.
I think it's Stephen Hodgkinson or something like this.
Yeah, something like that. Because that coverage went away in a hurry. I mean, there's some false narratives out there on the right that it wasn't covered. No, it was wall to wall that first day into the second day, and then people would, news organizations would update you on Scalise's condition, but that went away fairly quickly.
Yes. Well, I'm kind of shocked that we don't have more information at this point on this. I mean, it looks pretty shoddy.
I don't even know how these photos for real that we're seeing.
I don't know of the packaging. It seems rather strange. Like, oh, here's this really scary thing, and we're just gonna sit it there. There's one where it's like next to a canister of Clorox wipes sitting out.
I just don't get how these photos get out. And then I saw at one point, I believe it was Katie Pavlich over at Town Hall, she retweeted one of the photos, and the stamps, it was clear that the package hadn't been mailed, but it had stamps on it.
Right. Well, I think
they weren't canceled.
I'd heard some of them were hand delivered.
Okay, why do you put stamps on a hand delivered if you get a courier? Why do you put stamps on it?
Right. Is it just to throw it off so it blends better? I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what becomes of this. And I'm not going to be surprised if it is a right-winger that did this.
Oh, no, not at all. And then, of course, the narrative will be it's right-wing violence. It's always the right wing.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just...
Well, they were going to do that anyway.
Yeah, just going to gloss over everything that's happened in the last year and a half.
Yeah, we'll just gloss over that we routinely call everybody that's not a left-winger Hitler and encourage the violence against them.
Right.
So, no, this was a very good way to stop the momentum on the jobs not mobs theme.
Yeah. Oh, but you're not going there yet.
No, I'm not saying mobs not bombs.
So there's that. The other, news that I found interesting this week, and boy, NBC was waiting for this.
Mm-hmm.
Megyn Kelly is out.
Oh, yeah.
At NBC. And for those of you who want to feel sorry for Megyn Kelly, $68 million, I'm hearing, is the golden handshake on the way out the door.
Oh.
$68 million.
Whatever will she do?
Right. Look, it was a mistake for her to go there.
Yep.
She should have just either stayed at Fox or jumped ship over to CNN. She wouldn't have made the money that she made at NBC, but let's face it, you can fail in primetime on CNN, and they don't seem to care.
Mm-hmm.
You could just stay there forever. But she was never going to be embraced by Democrats, left-wing viewers, because she worked for Fox, and she pissed off a lot of right-wingers at Fox. So, and the other thing too, I talked about this earlier on the other show. The mornings. When you think of people that are on in the morning, okay, Ellen DeGeneres, and I know she's on a little later than Megyn Kelly.
I think she's afternoon.
Okay, daytime TV.
Shows you how much daytime TV we watch.
Right. Well, we'll go with daytime TV. These are likable people, for the most part. They're kind of warm. You're like, people are drawn to them for different reasons. Megyn Kelly's cold.
Yeah.
When I heard she was going to host a morning / it was part of the Today Show, wasn't it? It was like a 4th hour today. They kick Kathy Lee Gifford to the curb for them for Hoda, is that? Yeah,
Kathy Lee and Hoda. Did they cancel that show for this?
At one point, I thought they canceled that show. They were going to cancel it, and then there was an outcry from people at NBC, and then they said, "Okay, we'll keep them on." I don't know, but when you look at Kathy Lee and Hoda, they're drinking wine at 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you got Kelly Ripa and whoever's like Michael Strahan. I mean, daytime talk. It's kind of light and fun, and she's not light and fun.
No, and she tried to be, and
it looked awful. I mean, they had her dancing at one point, like Ellen does. And it looked ridiculous. So, NBC just couldn't wait. And so I don't have the quote in front of me. I don't know how much you want to get into it. But, the Halloween costumes came up and something about Diana Ross. And she said, well, when we were kids, it was okay to to paint your face black, say it was part of your costume, like you were dressing up to be Diana Ross. Mm-hmm. That gets you fired.
Yeah, you can't say that in 2018.
That gets you fired. And look, nobody should be. If you're white, you shouldn't be going around in blackface. Okay, but it's not like she got on stage in front of a camera in blackface.
Yeah,
she just said, "Oh, when I was a kid."
Yeah, like I don't understand what the problem is.
She got fired for it. Now, if her ratings were through the roof. Mm-hmm. I mean, this would be like, okay, she's gone for a week.
Yeah. We're going to send her to some diversity training seminars.
And she'll give you a tearful apology, which she did. Mm-hmm. And then we'll move on. But you would think she appeared in blackface on the show. This reaction. It's unbelievable. And NBC, they couldn't wait to get rid of her. And now they're getting rid of her. And now
I wonder what they would have had to pay if they didn't. I'm sure they exercised some morality clause or something in her contract, so they only had to pay out a fraction of what they would have if they just straight up fired her.
$68 million. Can you imagine?
Yes.
Now, you're younger than me, and I feel like I'm around Megyn's age, even though Megyn looks much younger than me. I don't remember.
It's just lighting, fingers.
Is that what it is? Lighting? Yeah.
Yeah.
No one in my neighborhood trick-or-treating went around blackface.
No.
This wasn't the thing. I don't know where Megyn grew up.
Ooh, I don't know. I would imagine that she didn't grow up in a place where that happened either.
But can you imagine and that's what you get fired for. I mean, now the narrative will be Megyn Kelly is the biggest racist.
Yes. Well, and they'll point back to years ago. Apparently, she went to the mat defending the fact that Santa, an imaginary character, is white. 100% without a doubt. It's like, really, that's a hill you want to die on? What does it matter? It's a fantasy story for little children. Be whatever you want.
Do you think that had to be some kind of listen, we got the memo from our overlords up on the top floor at Fox News. We have to go to the mat. Whenever Santa comes up, he was white.
Yeah. I don't know. But I just remember seeing articles about that, and people on the left were furious. And it gets brought up when anytime she acts up, did anything out of line, it would be the reminder, remember, Megyn insists that Santa is white.
But shouldn't this be really an example how we've progressed as a society, that what's considered racist in 2018 versus what was considered racist in the 1960s?
Yeah.
You can't even say, well, back when I was a kid, if it was part of your costume, it was okay to put black makeup on your face. You're fired. You're fired for saying such a thing. Get out of here. You'll never work in this business again, toots.
Yeah. Well, she made the mistake of thinking she'd be accepted by them.
Yeah.
But I cannot feel bad for her.
Where does she go? Where does she go from here?
I don't know.
Does she have to go anywhere?
No, she doesn't, but I think she likes it. That's the thing.
People are wired differently. If you're a media attention whore like that, and I'm not calling her whore, I'm talking about a camera whore. You have to be in front of a camera. Fame whore. You give me $68 million, Tracy L. Connors, you'll never see me again.
Same here, Fingers.
Love you and all.
Yeah, let's start a GoFundMe when we hit 68 each. You'll never have to see or hear from us again.
Yep, there you go. They're just they can't walk away.
No, it's a compulsion. But I think it's an ego thing too. Like, everybody needs to hear my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, your opinion was that Santa's white and blackface is okay. I think we've heard enough from you, Megyn. Here's the check. See you later.
And now you are going to be labeled a racist for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's not just, she's ignorant about this and doesn't understand it. Because honestly, like, how much time have people spent researching it? We just know it's bad.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. Can't do it. You can't get away with it. Sorry. It's not happening. This is not, what was it, the 90s that Ted Danson did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she may as well be James Earl Ray at this point.
Exactly.
So she'll have to go be... I don't know how you rehabilitate her career. Because she can't go back to Fox.
No.
Are we going to see her on One American News?
I don't think anybody would take her, on the right at least.
Well, RT is hiring.
I don't know that they would touch her.
Wow.
She'll just do a podcast or something.
Yeah. I'm sure she'll hit up her pal Bill O'Reilly.
Yes, they can start a network together.
I mean, does anybody care about her? I mean, no. That's the thing. And that's really the reason why NBC let her go.
Mm-hmm.
She pissed off the right. Nobody on the right wants to watch her. She's pissed off the left because she worked for Fox and was successful at Fox. So lefties don't want to watch her. If she were to start her own podcast or find an online media outlet, say Conservative Review or something like that, which, I don't think you could do that either, because then you're really acknowledging, if you go from Fox News to NBC to, and this is no knock on Conservative Review, go from that platform to some sort of internet platform, you're really acknowledging that the career has taken a wrong turn, right?
Yeah.
You'd almost have to start your own thing. And with $68 million, I'm thinking you could probably start your own thing. But where's the audience?
Yes. It's not there. Like you say all the time, nobody's dying to, and you use different people in this example, but you don't wake up first thing in the morning and think, I wonder what Megyn Kelly's take on all of this is.
Right?
I'm just dying to hear her. Like, I don't even think she gets picked up as a panelist, a talking head anywhere.
Well, no,
at least not for a while.
Because she's a rabid racist.
Yeah, she's toxic.
It's unbelievable.
It is.
And just laughing at this could get you in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I get in trouble just for saying what I said if people gave a shit about what I had to say.
Right.
But to lose your gig and really be thrown to the wolves, and to have such a toxic name now over something like this. And then for you to say, and I'm not criticizing you, but the first thing that came up after she said that, you're right, was, oh, well, the Santa thing. Like, that was in the memory banks, just waiting to be pulled out at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
These are examples of racism in 2018. I think we've come a long way, Tracy L. Connors.
I don't know. I think we're going backwards in Trump's America. I really do.
Well, we're 55 minutes in, Tracy. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I did want to make mention of some my little thoughts on the migrant caravan here for a second.
Okay.
Well, what I find really interesting, and I wish that some of these other networks like CNN or MSNBC would have panels that actually had balance on them a little bit, because that's all I watch anymore is those two networks, just to see what hysterical thing they're worked up about today.
Right.
And they seem to be pretty excited about this caravan coming up.
Delusional.
And I just kept thinking, like, you realize that this is a march of children headed for cages.
Yeah.
Why aren't you guys saying, hey, you know what we do here, right? What's going to happen is we're going to take all these kids and we're going to throw them in a cage and separate them from their parents. No, they're not doing that at all. They can't wait for this. They're thrilled.
Because they don't care about the kids. They don't care about the immigrants. They know that they're going to be thrown in cages, and they're trying to time it to be right about 3 or 4 days before the election.
Mm-hmm.
And
can we get them moving faster? But that's what I said. I was shocked to see them still camped out in the same spot a day later. Or is this just this caravan is so long that it's the next days people have caught up? It was very confusing.
Well, what I'm confused over, and unfortunately we don't have true journalists at any of these networks. But what I want to know is you've seen footage of people handing out money to these people. And, I've heard some people speculate it's the drug overlords, handing out money. You would think there would be some journalists asking, okay, who organized this? Is there anybody funding this?
Right. You'd think they would embed like O'Keefe does.
Right.
Send a couple people in there. I'm sure that there's people that work at CNN, I think they call it, the CNN Spanish. Just have them put on a backpack and a ball cap and just kind of blend and see if they get some cash and start asking questions. You don't have to get up in these people's faces with cameras, but let's figure this out. Because you got Pence saying they spoke to the president of Honduras, and he said it was organized by left groups in Honduras and funded by the Venezuelan government. Okay. Well, can we not figure this out?
Because once again, and we've harped on this a lot on this show, is the media is more interested in reporting narrative than news.
Yeah.
And this caravan, they hope, will go along with the narrative that Trump is a racist. He's going to stop these poor migrants, these immigrants that just want to start a new life in America. They're all good people. There are no bad people in this caravan, Tracy.
It couldn't possibly be.
No, and they're going to separate the children and put them in cages, and it'll all be on live TV, what we can show, what access we have. We'll have what we can't have access to. We'll have reporters outside of chain link fences with barbed wire over them, and Trump will be a monster. And that's the narrative. You don't want to get actual news out of this. You don't want to find out who's funding it, who's organizing it.
That sounds like a lot of work. It's a lot easier to stick a microphone in somebody's face and say, "What do you think about Trump's tweets about you guys?"
Right.
Like, big, mean orange man hates you. Why are you going to his country? I mean, even ask them that. Why go there? We've spent the last 2.5 years trying to tell the world that he's a terrible racist that's going to have all these camps and stuff. And they already had camps for your kind of people. They were separating the kids and throwing them in cages. Why are you going? Your country's worse than that. Huh.
I swear, if I were in White House communication, if I were I were Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I'd have a TV monitor up, and I want to play a clip of something, of President Obama's comments, but we can't just have people marching into the country. And I said, we wholeheartedly agree with President Obama on this issue.
Yeah.
And just see and just sit back and watch the spin.
Well, Trump tweeted that the other day,
Yeah, but to have it in the press briefing.
I see what you're saying. Well, the reaction that I saw to it when Trump tweeted it was like, oh, he's undermining himself by doing this because he's showing like how hard. I can't remember what it was, some twisted logic. It was like, oh, he's undermining his own argument because like Obama was just as hardcore as he is. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Because they're like, because his argument was Obama was really weak on it. And here's Obama saying how tough he was on it. Yeah, there's difference between rhetoric and action.
Right.
And he's just trying to say Obama was saying the same things that I'm saying, and you guys weren't freaking the hell out.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how anybody watches any of these networks. God bless you for watching CNN and MSNBC.
Oh, it's entertaining if you watch it as comedy and not try to get any information out of it. I mean, come on. I never would have known about that little clip with Jeffrey Toobin and Caitlin Collins. Oh, yeah. That's just like Hitler.
Well, and let me see if I can pull this up really quick. Talk amongst yourselves. There was some CNN talking head that was talking about these bombings, and I'm logging into Twitter right now because it's Super Mexican on Twitter grabbed the clip, and I want to give credit where credit's due. He was saying that, okay, that was bad, but these packages being sent to these people, that was an attack on all of America.
Oh.
Yeah. So let me see if I can pull this up. It was simply amazing, the spin on this. Here it is. Okay. Now this is I don't know who this is. This is just on CNN. And Soup tweeted, this was just an attack on a baseball field. That was just an attack on a baseball field, but this is an attack on our country. You can actually hear Soup say, what is this? What? It's 18 seconds long. I wish I knew who this was over at CNN.
Institution of government in the media. It is different than some of the attacks on government recently. We have a shooting at a softball game. We have the shooting in Maryland against the press. But this is an attack on our country and institutions. And what the start? And then we're going to leave it up to professionals to find out who did it.
Yeah, that baseball field thing, that was kind of bad. But this...
Right, but then he lumped in that Maryland thing. That was the guy that went in and shot up the local paper.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? And he has to throw that in there because they can't get it dislodged from their brain because they immediately jumped on it and wanted to blame that on Trump.
Right.
And it was just the guy that had the gripe with the paper for 15 years or whatever and snapped. But how do you even put that in that mix? Because it was an attack on the press. But this is an attack on our country. No, it was an attack on 10 people.
As a right-winger, I'm so sick and tired of the whining at CNN.
But it's so funny. Because they're just so demoralized and depressed.
Oh, they're being called. They're having to hear chants of CNN sucks. Oh, must be horrible. Your network has been parading talking head after talking head on for 2 years, calling Trump supporters Nazis, calling right-wingers Nazis. And that, cool, man. Why would anybody be upset about that? But oh my gosh, say CNN sucks. And it's the worst thing. It's an attack on our democracy, Tracy. To say CNN sucks.
Yeah, because they're part of the government, right? They think of themselves as that.
Yeah.
But I did have one feel-good story for you before we go, Fingers.
Okay, what's that?
With all the hubbub going on, I'm sure this will get lost. Mm-hmm. But Chuck Grassley has referred our good friend Michael Avenatti and Julie Swetnick to justice for a criminal probe.
Oh?
Yes. So this is in the Washington Post. It was buried on the front page of their site. So they say Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Charles E. Grassley of Iowa on Thursday referred lawyer Michael Avenatti and Julie Swetnick, one of the women who accused now Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh of misconduct, to the Department of Justice for a criminal probe, alleging that they made, quote, materially false statements to Grassley's committee as it investigated the allegations. This makes me so happy.
Nothing's going to come of it, other than it's going to scare the hell out of them.
Potentially.
Do you think anything's going to happen? I think there'll be people at the DOJ that'll just sweep this under the rug.
We'll see. It depends on who gets the case. But
Yeah.
this is my favorite line from his letter. He says, when charlatans make false claims to the committee, claims that may earn them short-term media exposure and financial gain, but which hinder the committee's ability to do its job, there should be consequences. Sorry, they transposed it incorrectly.
Well,
So
right.
He wrote this letter to Jeff Sessions and Christopher Wray, and he said there are laws that exist to ensure that this never doesn't happen.
I hope something happens, but I would hate that Avenatti's presidential campaign may be derailed by this.
No, he's loving it. Are you kidding?
You think he really is loving it?
Yes.
Be investigated by the DOJ?
Well, here was his. He responded, of course, on Twitter. Mm-hmm. He says he did. I believe this is a quote. Yeah, here's his Twitter quote. He didn't, meaning Grassley. He didn't care when it came to putting a man on SCOTUS for life. So about people, lying to investigators, I guess is what he's saying. We welcome the investigation, as now we can finally get to the bottom of Judge Kavanaugh's lies and conduct and let the truth be known.
I don't know.
He'll just launch a new GoFundMe off of this.
Well, that's true. But the woman that he represented, what's
Julie
her name?
Swetnick?
Swetnick. I mean, she had that one interview on one of the news magazine shows, and it from what I remember, it was a train wreck.
Yeah, and apparently Grassley pointed to that. It was an NBC interview, and he said she backtracked on several of the claims that she had made in her affidavit during that interview.
She sounded like she's the mayor of Crazy Town.
Yeah. Well, yes. Anybody that teams up with Avenatti is highly suspect.
No, shut your mouth. It's going to be the next president of the United States.
Yeah, what do I know?
Well, I hope something comes of it, but I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
There'll be too many left-wingers at the DOJ that'll figure out a way.
It is fun to make them sweat a little bit.
Yeah. That's true. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. This has been the Enough Already podcast. You can find it over at Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn, Google Play. Are we on Google Play?
Yes.
There's just so many places, Tracy.
I know. It's everywhere.
Yes. YouTube and BitChute. So check us out. Those many fine platforms. Anything else, Tracy? Final thoughts?
I'm good.
All right. This has been the Enough Already podcast. She's Tracy. I'm Fingers. We'll be back next week. Look for us. There'll be cake.